Welcome to his short word channel.
You shall indeed know the truth, and it shall set you free.
And we create nothing but the truth.
And you can do nothing against the truth but for the truth.
So kindly hit that subscribe button and embrace the truth.
By using the narrative of the table as a temple motif. Now let's look at the ark, the Garden of Eden, tabernacle, and the temple. Are you in class? Let's look at the ark, the Garden of Eden, tabernacle, and the temple. The authors of the first 5 books, Genesis, Deuteronomy, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, seem to intend to show a parallel between the Garden of Eden, Noah's Ark, and the tabernacle, and eventually the temple. And by doing this, they present a figure of God's plan for the earth, that the earth will be his dwelling place. You know, we've been dealing with the temple, all right? Father and his family. That the earth will be his dwelling place. That is what they seem to communicate. Or the earth as a sacred place through the temple narrative. Through the temple narrative. Remember, the temple is a meeting place between man and deity, right? Okay. So through the temple narrative. Therefore, the temple theme is an emphasis employed by the authors of the books of the scriptures. So let's look at Noah's Ark and the Garden of Eden. Noah's Ark and the Garden of Eden. The application of words by the author in both instances show a literal connection between them. There is a literal connection between the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark. Remember, both of them were upon the face of the waters. Both Eden and the Ark of Noah were upon the face of the waters. Genesis 1:2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Genesis chapter 7 verse 18. Genesis 7:18. And the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. Okay, are you following? All right. In both scenarios, we see the earth, which had dark or chaotic waters. In Noah's story, the water prevailed and increased greatly upon the earth. And these waters can be called chaotic waters, as it is similar to what we read in Genesis 1:2. It brings forth chaos on the earth. We also have waters controlled by the Spirit of God. Waters controlled, Genesis 1:2. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face or upon the waters. So in God's space or sacred place on the earth, it is upon the waters. God's space or sacred place on the earth, we see it upon the waters. Now, God brought man into his space. God brought man into his space, as we see in the Garden of Eden. And as we see in Noah's story, we had the ark upon the face of the waters. So the ark can be likened to the Garden of Eden. God's sacred space on the earth that is upon the waters, where there is no chaos or darkness. Take note of the word rested. Rested is described both the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark. Rested. because the ark of Noah rested. Okay? Genesis 2:1. Thus, the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Verse 2. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Now, the completion of the heaven and earth, which implies God's house or God's temple, is evidence or described as God's rest. The completion of the heaven and the earth, which is called God's house or God's temple, is evidenced as God's rest. The word rested was translated from the Hebrew word Shabbat. Shabbath. Shabbat, which means to cease or desist from. While this word will be examined as we continue, it is important to note that it is applied in relation to the building of God's sacred space in the earth. It is applied in relation to the building of God's sacred space in the earth, of which the Garden of Eden typified heaven and earth. Heaven and earth. Okay? Eden, heaven and earth. Now, Noah's ark was not different. Genesis chapter 8 verse 4. Genesis chapter 8 verse 4. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. Wow. The ark rested upon the mountains of Ararat. The word rested was translated from the Hebrew word Noach, Nuach, which implies to cease or to desist from, amongst other meanings. It is synonymous to the Hebrew word Shabbat, Shabbath, which can be seen in the way the author of the Torah applied them. For example, Exodus 23:12. Put it up for me. Exodus 23:12. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. The word rest, which first appears in this text, was translated from the Hebrew word Shabbat, while the second was translated from the Hebrew word Nuach, Nuach. Yet the writer implied the same meaning in both instances, which literally meant that the children of Israel will not walk, and the same for their ox and the same for their ass. And as we said earlier, these words will be explained in more details. Now there's a connection therefore made by the writer via the use of the word Noach, Nuach, and Shabbat, Shabbath. Also take note that the ark rested upon a mountain. The ark rested upon a mountain. And if you know about mountains, they were explained as a representation or a sacred place, or where God and man meets and intersect. The Garden of Eden was also on a mountain. Okay? Another connection is made between the Ark of Noah and the Garden of Eden. They were both at a height. They were both at a height. The need for both Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark and God's blessing are similar. Now look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And then there was chaos and darkness, which of course typified by chaotic waters, prior to God bringing man to dwell with him in the Garden of Eden. In Genesis 1:2, and the earth was without form, void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And the ark of Noah was needed also because of the flood, which the writer figures a cosmic water on the earth. So there was chaos on the earth. Look at Genesis. Let's read it. Chapter 6, verse 11 to 13. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Next verse. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. There was violence on the earth. It was being corrupted. This is chaos and darkness. So in both instances, a recreation was necessary. In Noah's case and in the Garden of Eden. Chaos, darkness, chaos, darkness. So there was a need for a recreation.